Okay, so the time is finally here, and life has been released onto the Tomb ecosystem. Um, as you're all probably aware, Tomb has been under peg now for quite some time, and the purpose of this video is to show you how that you can invest into the Life Genesis pools, and in doing so, make yourself a healthy return, as well as propping up the Tomb and T-share price while we're within the bear market. So as you can see here, you start with these tokens over here, and you don't have to pick these four, but these are the four that I am currently invested in. Once you've deposited into here, as it says up there, you will stake your tokens and you will earn life. You'll take the life and you'll put it into Tomb Swap. The life can be swapped for Tomb, and that's currently at a rate of around about 9 Tomb per life. The Tomb that you've now got can then be taken and added together with some Phantom to create a Tomb Phantom LP using Tomb Swap. You can then take the Tomb Phantom LP and you can add it into the Cemetery V2 by staking Tomb Phantom LP. You will earn L share, and the L share can then be swapped for T-share. Now, why would you want to do this when currently the price of life and the price of L share, being as though they are the new assets, are so much higher? Surely you'd want to hold on to the higher value asset. Well, it's actually the other way around. When the volume and liquidity is low at the beginning, the tokens become massively overvalued because there's a lot of people who want them and there are not a lot that exist. So the price is potentially inflated in comparison to where it will end up in the future. And therefore, by swapping your life to Tomb, if we was to get to a point where life was to equal 1 Tomb, you're actually 9 times better off from doing this, as you can see there. So you would now have 9 Tomb for every 1 life that you would have had if you'd have just held the life. The same can be said over here. So by swapping the L shares that you've generated in the Tomb Phantom LP, you're now getting 11.1 T shares for each L share that you swapped. So there'll be a point in time where more than likely an L share will be worth less money than a T share, based off of the logic that when an L share prints, currently the cap, or the soft cap of maximum supply of life is 10% of Tomb. So in theory it should be valued around about 10 times less potentially, or somewhere between the same value as a T-share and 10 times less than a T-share, but it definitely shouldn't be valued at 10 times more than a T-share as it currently is. Now, these prices obviously are subject to fluctuation. So as you can see from the Tomb chart on the daily chart, right at the very beginning, the price of Tomb massively shot up against Phantom, and then it pulled back down to the actual intended level of what was the peg at the time, and is now the ratio, to sit around about the 1 sort of area. You can see the same thing if you go to the Tomb against a based chart. When it was released, it went massively over peg, brought back down by the algorithm down to the 1 area, where it's designed to sit. So this is a few days in that it took to actually get from the massive pump starting here to becoming pegged. Took around about a month, maybe longer. We're talking right down to peg, but basically it takes a while. But there's a massive pump at the beginning that then slowly drops off, because that's what the algorithm's designed to do. So going and looking at life, where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days into life, you can see we've hit a top here at 10, and you can see that from these rejection wicks, which are growing smaller. So the momentum's decreasing. Obviously we've got terrible market conditions right now as well, but to me this is looking very much like this and this. So I would expect that we'll start to come back down at some point. Now we'll be told where the peg or the ratio is going to sit, and that's likely where it's going to inflect down to. So the example given was 6. So if we're at 10, we've got a 40% downside just to get to 6. So realistically, you don't want to be holding them up here knowing that they're going to reduce in value by 40%. You know, that's the current example that's being given. Potentially it could be 1. We could be looking at 1. That was the previous example that was given during the Tomb Tuesdays, was it was coming all the way down to 1. So if we was to go down to 1, you're losing 90% then of your current value. So realistically, if you go and put it into here, then for this to lose 90%, if this loses 90%, then because Life and Tomb are ratioed together, Life's also losing 90% of its dollar value. Unless, let's say, Tomb went down by 90%, and Life went up by, 1,000%, that would cover the same thing. But then you'd be looking at a 100 to 1 ratio. So that's the logic behind why you would want to move your money from Life into Tomb. And the same thing goes for T-share. If you look at this, look at the massive price pump at the beginning up to 12,000 Phantom. Look at B-share, massive pump, massive dump. Look at L-share, pump, dump. So, we're already there with the dump. It's already coming down and trying to find a realistic level, but you could argue this has actually got much further to fall. This chart isn't actually showing you the whole thing. So we started at $500, so we actually started down here. So it's still got a way to go to where it started. Well, it started lower than $500, but when I started watching it, it was around $500 on the day of release. So again, this has the potential to come down in the same way that this has, and this has. So realistically, putting your money out of L shares and into T shares is the play right now. Then you wait, you find out what the fair value for L shares is. We wait until Masonry V2 is released, and then at that point we're going to reevaluate the current price, the price we swapped at. Do we swap back? Is it worth swapping back? What are the rewards going to be in the new Masonry for L shares? So on the actual website, this is where you're at. You want to be adding your coins, whatever coins you've got that are in this pool. Personally, everything I own, I would be putting into these pools right now, because they're offering the best single stake APR anywhere in the market. It's going to produce your life. You're going to take your life, you're going to turn it into Tomb, and you're going to wait for the Tomb upside or the life downside. You can then swap back to life again. You can have potentially 10 times more life than you've got from here. So if the APR in these pools, let me pull up the screenshot instead. So if we're looking at the APR in these pools, we've got 0.2% on Phantom, let's say. If you sell it at 10 life to 1 Tomb, and then it comes down to 1 life is 1 Tomb, and you swap back again, effectively you were getting a 2% daily APR on your single stake pool, which is absolutely incredible. But you've got to learn to play the game, which is what they've talked about during Tomb Tuesday, is playing the game. When they say playing the game, they mean working out what the best reward for your investment is going to be. That is the game. That is the purpose of this video, is to give you an example of the game, how I'm going to play it, and how I think that that's going to reward me going into the future. So if Tomb, which is currently at 0.25 of a Phantom, and Phantom that's at 0.25 of a dollar, if they were both to go back to a dollar, you would be looking at 4 times in whatever money you've got in Tomb, and 4 times in the money you've got in Phantom. But remember, Tomb goes up with Phantom, and so your overall gain from buying Tomb here, if Tomb goes back to a dollar, is 16 times whatever you invest. That's absolutely incredible. So you're buying Tomb, you take the Tomb, you then go put it in here. Or alternatively, you can take it, and as it shows in, where's the picture gone? Right, so as it shows in here, you can combine it with Phantom, you can make LP, and then you can just sit on that. Obviously there will be some impermanent loss, so you're going to, if you go back to a 1-to-1 ratio, then you'd be looking at 6% impermanent loss each time the price doubles with respect to the other coin. So if we're at 0.25 and we doubled to 0.5, you'd have a 6% loss, but you'd have doubled what that token's worth, so it's not really a loss. It's just a loss in comparison to if you was holding those 2 tokens separately. But if you're being paid 0.55% per day, after 12 days, you've covered your 6% loss anyway. So yeah, it just, the whole thing's an absolute no-brainer to me right now. Potentially the market drops further, you know, we don't have a crystal ball, but buying at these levels is it's definitely going to earn you a lot more tokens, and the tokens are going to offset your risk against the market downside. And you're never going to know where the bottom is. Potentially we already saw the bottom when it got to 20k. Maybe the bottom's much lower. It depends. If the big players try to target these liquidations, then we're probably going to go much lower. But at the moment, the wallets that are likely to be liquidated have refilled so much money into there that their liquidation price is now far from the current price. So it's a question of how badly do the actors who want to cause the liquidations want to risk their capital to cause those liquidations to happen? That's the question. Obviously, we've got the macro as well, so depends on what inflation does, depends what the Federal Reserve does, depends what the war in Ukraine is going to continue doing, whether we go into a recession, all the interest rates. There's so many moving parts right now, it's ridiculous. But this is why, if you already hold tokens like these, for example, then the smartest thing that you can be doing, if you're not selling them, which isn't what I would advise to do right now, is to go and stake them somewhere, earn rewards, and then play this game. You know, we get to a point where these numbers become, I don't know, 10 times lower than they are, and you can swap back. It's dead easy. So this, I hope this video was helpful. Any questions, feel free to drop them down below. There's a link to my Discord server in the notes below the video video description. Go in there. There's lots of extra information in there. There's people having discussions around what their personal pots are looking like right now, their portfolios. So if you want some bespoke advice on how you think you should play the game with what assets you've currently got, you can pop in there, you can put it into the forum, or you can send me a PM. It's up to you. Try not to do it through YouTube, as it's quite difficult actually replying through there. Although comments are very good for sort of uptake of people watching the channel. The more people who watch the channel, the more likely we are that strategies like this are actually going to succeed. So drop me a like and a subscribe if you got this far, and look forward to seeing you again. Thanks for watching.